Hello and welcome to another Control-Delete tutorials. Today we're going to be focusing on creating alpha channels and how to use them and what they can be used for as far as transparency, texturing, materials and things of that nature for 3D applications and also for just creating them. And what we're going to be doing is using Photoshop and 3D Studio Max. I'll be creating the material in Photoshop, and then I will be bringing it into 3D Studio Max and showing you how to set that up. So first I want to talk a little bit about images. So right now, just to show this and how I'm going to do this, I've just simply found a picture that I might want to use and remove the background in creating this alpha channel. And then I'm going to take this, bring it into Photoshop, remove the background. So we'll just get started with that. So first, I had just done a simple search for the word tree branch and found this image. Now it is a little bit grainy, but that's going to be fine for what we're doing. So I'm going to save this image, and I'll just save it into an area for this tutorial for in 3D Studio Max. So I'll just call this tree branch alpha demo. And I'll just keep the name as is for now. Now right now this image is a JPEG. One thing about these type of images is that they've only got 3 map channels or 3 color channels. So I'm going to open this up. Hey look, Weeping Angels. I'm doing a project right now with that. But anyway, documents, 3ds Max, scenes, tree branch demo, and there's my tree branch. Now right now in Photoshop we see that this has a variety of colors: whites, pinks, kind of grays, browns, blue. And if I come over to the channels tab here in Photoshop, what I can see is I have a red channel, and if I select that, what I'm seeing is not red, but I'm seeing a black and white image. Now what this means is, if we look at the colors that we have to choose from, under red we've got the ability to have a number from 0 to 255. And let me come back up here to my hues. So if I bring this up to red and I come all the way down to white, I can see that everything is set at 255. My red, my green, and my blue. If I take this and I drag just the red up, my red is at 255 and my other two are at 0, which means there's no green, there's no blue. So if I was to type in 255 here, I now get yellow, and I know that red and green don't make yellow, but we're talking about additive color, which works differently than pigment color. But we have basically a number value here. And if I set all of these to 0, we see we get black. 0 is the absence of color. 255 is the full spectrum of the color that we deal with regards to RGB values. So what that means is, if we look at the image, an area here that is black is represented in number value of somewhere around 0, whereas this white area would be 255. So if there are any areas that are red, they're going to be showing up. Basically, they're going to be lighter here in our image, and we can see that there's some pink along and some red in there. So that makes sense. And we have our other different colors there. So this is known as 24-bit color. We have 8, 8, and 8 bits per color channel. So a 32-bit image is made up of red, green, blue, and one extra channel, which is called the alpha channel. Alpha is just basically used for transparency. That's what we're going to be using it for. So what I want to do is, I want to make it so the background here, which is just the sky in this image, that's why I've chosen this, is going to be removed from this image. So I'm going to come back to my layers, and I'm going to come to my color wand. I don't know, what is this thing called? Color selection tool, or magic wand tool, that's it. So this just allows me to select a lot of the similar type of colors that are here. Right now my tolerance is set really low. I'm going to set it on 32. That gets me a lot closer to what I want, and I'm going to turn off contiguous, so it should also select the other areas that are of a similar color value. And I've got a little piece of branch here that I don't want, so I'm just going to select that out of there. So I'm going to hit Control-Shift-I, which is going to select the invert. So it's going to invert my selection so I'm not selecting the blue. I'm going to hit Control-J, which is going to duplicate what is selected. So now if I turn this layer off, I see I've got this checker pattern in the background. This is Photoshop's way of letting you know that there's nothing here. It's transparent. Okay, so if I zoom in, I kind of see that I have this little bit of a halo around my image. I got this kind of dark blue color. So what I'm going to do is actually select this transparent area, select invert again, and I'm going to go to select, modify, and contract, and I'm going to contract my selection. Now if I had to guess, maybe about 4 pixels in. Okay, and I'm going to hit Control-J, or actually I'll hit Control-Shift-I to invert selection again, and I'm going to hit delete to delete everything else that's in my image. Okay, so now I don't have that halo anymore, and that's kind of nice. So I'm going to hit Control-D there to deselect. So I'm going to take my background layer here, and I'm going to simply remove that, and I'm going to create a new layer underneath here. Let's call this background again. And this is currently going to be put on top. I'm just going to bring that down below. And I'm going to fill this with just black for now. And actually what I'm going to do is rename this black. And I'm going to hit Control-J, which is going to duplicate this layer. I'm going to rename this to white, and I'll explain why I'm doing this in a moment. I'm just going to make that layer. And I'm doing this to show something. It doesn't mean that you necessarily have to do this. I just want to show you some things, which will make more sense in a moment. So currently what I have, if I go back to the just the black being visible in the background here, I can't create my alpha channel this way, but what I can do is, if I select my layer here, I'm just going to name this branch, just so I have things named here. I like to stay organized that way. And I want to create an alpha channel. The way I can do this simply is by going to Select, Load Selection, and it's automatically going to do it based on the layer I've selected, which is this one, and it's going to select based on the transparency. So I'm going to say OK. So right now it selects everything that is currently transparent. Now what I'm going to do is go to, it's going to select what is not transparent. I'm going to say Save Selection, and I'm not going to type anything in here. I just want to make a new channel, and I'm going to say OK. Now if I come back to the channels, I'm going to see that I've got red, green, blue, and alpha. And if I select the alpha channel, what I see is black and white information. Now from before, what I talked about in regards to these colors, if I had black, that means the absence of red or green or blue, and if I had white, that would mean the presence of red, green, or blue. In this way, we have the alpha channel, and the alpha channel is reading that black would be transparent and white would be opaque. And we can have different levels of transparency here, to where we have it, any level of gray would be different levels of transparency depending on how close they are to white or black. So that's what I have. If I'm in my RGB channel here, I can turn on the visibility here, and it's going to show red. In this case, it's just showing me that anything that shows up red is going to be 100% transparent while that's on. So I'm just going to turn that back off. So I now have my transparency that I want, which is good. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of crop this image because there's a lot of dead space here. So what I'm going to do is, since this is currently selected, I'm going to go to it's annoying, image and crop, and I'm just going to crop this image just like this. And I'm going to hit Control D to deselect that. So the next point that I want to make is, based on the transparency that I have, if I have any part here that is semi-transparent, which is usually going to be the anti-aliased edge that I have here. Anti-aliased means that the image that I have here is trying to blend into what's back here around these edges. So if I switch this to white, I can see that these edges now lighten up. If I turn that off, my edges get dark. This is going to be very important whenever I show how this works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save out the Photoshop file just so I have it, and I'll leave it with the black background here. So I'm going to do Save As, and I'll save that here. I'll keep the same name as the original image that I had, just so I'm consistent with that, and I'll just save that. So now I'm going to Save As. I'm going to save this one as a Targa file, and the Targa file is what I'm going to use. This is a file type that's used in a lot of game engines, so it's very handy to get used to using this. You can use PNG, it does save transparency, but this one actually saves the channel, which makes it it makes the file itself a little larger than a PNG, but it also is better quality than the PNG is going to be. So I'm going to save that as Targa, but I'm going to name this is _black, and I will save that. I want to make sure it's a 32-bit per pixel image, which means it has RGB and 8, all 8-bit channels, 8 times 4, 32. So I know that that's correct. So I'll hit OK. And now I'm going to save another one with the white. I'm going to go to File, Save As, Targa, and this one is going to, instead of being black, it's going to be white. And I'll save that. Okay. So now I'm going to come into 3D Studio Max, and I'm going to create a plane, and just kind of drag this out. I want to see what the, oh, this is fine. I'm just going to drag this out the way it is. I'm going to go into perspective here, kind of move this up and rotate it. I'm going to get rid of the grid just so we can see this. Let me turn on my snap there. Alright, so right now you may see the plane have another side to it. It'll have the back face showing. I by default have it so when I create objects the back face is gone. Polygons are only one-sided, and the other side is called a back face, and that means that this side does not render, this side does. So if you want to make your image or your plane look just like mine, you can select it, right click, go to Object Properties, and say Backface Cull, which means do not draw the back face. But mine's already checked. Okay, so I've got my plane here. So what I'm going to do is open the Material Editor. The shortcut for that is M, and that will open up the editor. I'm just going to maximize this. So I'm not going to have a very in-depth discussion on what the Material Editor is or anything like that and how to use the interface. This is going to be a simple thing for just showing how to apply the image to a material and apply that material to the plane that I have. So I'm going to go to Standard. I'm going to drag that out, and this is going to give me my standard material. I'm going to double click this to activate it on the side here, and at the top I've got a bunch of icons. One of them is going to say Show Shaded Material in the Viewport. I want to make sure to have that turned on. I'll know that it's turned on because my shader or my material will now have a diagonal red section to it here. So diffuse is our main color slot for our materials. So I need to drag an image into here. So to do that, I need an image map, which would be a bitmap. Even though our file is not a BMP file, it is a bitmapped image. and I'm going to search for that. So that was in my documents, 3ds Max, scenes. I hate when you can't read things when they're right in front of you. So I'm going to bring in the black image first, and I'm going to open that up. Now with that selected, I'm going to hold Shift and drag. I'm going to click and drag and create a second bitmap. This one, I'm going to grab the white image. And the reason I'm doing that is so I can quickly show the difference between the two of these. So I'm going to take this node and click and drag it to diffuse. There's a little preview box you can open up here. So I'm just going to do, actually if you double click that, it'll show it. So I need to set up this this image to have the alpha channel here. So I'm going to move this out of the way for just a moment. And right now this is going into the diffuse. I'm going to set my alpha source to none, opaque. I'm just going to make should make the black area there pop up. I'm not sure why that's not updating, but I want that part to be opaque. Actually, I had that one selected. That's why it didn't update. So I'm going to double click that to activate it and say none. Okay, there's the black showing up. And this one's already going to be set up for that. Great. So I'm going to duplicate this again, but this one's going to be used for my opacity. Now right now if I just use it, you can see that, let me make this two-sided here just so we can see it all the way around. It's going to make everything semi-transparent. So what I need to do is double click this one and tell it to use the image alpha and the alpha here. Okay, so now we can see this a lot better. Okay, so now I'm going to kind of move this off to the side here and just pan over by middle mouse clicking. I'm going to drag this node onto my plane. When I do that, we can see our image shows up there. And if we look on the other side, we don't see anything. Alright, so now I'm going to render this out, but I'm going to render it out on a white background. So I'm going to go to my render setup, just here. I'm going to go to my render environment, and my color here for my background I'm going to set to white. I'm going to say OK, close that, and I can just close that. I can use this render. Make this larger here so we can see. And when I render it, it's kind of difficult to notice, and this isn't actually too bad of an example, but I'm getting a black edge around here. If I zoom in more on part of this, it will get blurry, and you're not actually making it out too bad. So this isn't doing it too bad based on the anti-aliasing. But to give you an example of what is going on, or what will go on at times, is I'm going to take my alpha channel, and I'm going to have that selected. I'm just going to blur this ever so slightly to make that more noticeable. So I'm going to go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and I don't need to do it quite that much. Let's just go 4 pixels. And I'll come back here. And I'm going to resave both of these. So this will be my white. And then I'll turn off the white and save this over top of the black Targa file. Okay, the nice thing about working in Photoshop and 3D Studio Max is as soon as I render again, my image is already updated. So now I'm seeing this, since the alpha channel has been blurred, now I'm seeing this dark outline, kind of this halo around it, which is not ideal. So I'm going to come back here, maximize this, and I'm going to disconnect. So I'm just selecting these and hitting delete. Let's move these out of the way. And I'm now going to use the white one instead. So I'm going to put this in the diffuse. I want to make sure that that's set up for none opaque. I'm going to duplicate that by holding shift and dragging, clicking and dragging that. This one will be set up to alpha and image alpha, and I'll drag that down into the opacity, and that one's now set up. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to click and drag this on here. Now when I render this, I don't see the halo, but that's because I'm on a white background. Let's say that I'm on now a different color background. So I'm going to go to rendering, environment, and I'm going to put this on a black background. And I'm going to render that. And in this case, I'm also seeing a halo. So this is why the color that we have behind our actual image, even if I turn off the transparency, whenever I say this is a Targa, it's basically going to say this checker pattern as being white. So I have some control over what the color is going to be for bleeding, for the bleed around here. So what I can do is I'm going to duplicate my branch, and I'm going to use this copy. I'm going to just turn this off for a second, and I'm going to blur the color around this. So I'm going to go to blur, Gaussian blur. I'm going to go ahead and boost this up to 5 pixels. Another thing I'm going to do is hit Control J a lot, basically making duplicates of this. And the reason I've done that, I'm going to join these all together by holding Shift, selecting all of them, and hitting Control E, which will merge them all together. So the reason I do that is now I've got the very edge of this color blurred around here. So now the color around the flower is similar to what the color is that makes up the actual image of the branch. So the edges here, if there's any anti-aliasing that's going on, it's going to try to blend, instead of blending all to black or all to white, it's going to blend to this color that's around it. And then I can turn on black because it's not going to matter. But you can see the edges here are going to be a little more similar than just being on black. And I'm going to save this one out. Save as Targa. And this one I'm just going to get rid of the naming altogether for black or white and just call it sun. I'm going to save that, 32-bit per pixel. And the reason I do this is because a lot of times you're using this for things like particles, and the particles may go onto may be referencing this image, and when you get a lot of these together, those overlapping kind of fuzzy black edges can kind of come together, and it makes it look really ugly. So this keeps us from kind of having that sort of problem. So for instance, if I was doing a fireball, then my background that I would want to have would be something in the oranges, dark oranges, reds, something like that, instead of having it be on black or white, which is going to be the biggest stark contrast to whatever it is you're making. So it's better to have it at something that's a little closer. So that's why I end up doing that. So let's come back into Max here, and I do want that material editor open. Maximize that. So I'm going to delete the selections there. I'm going to move these white ones out of the way, and I'm just going to duplicate one of these to use. Actually, I'll just duplicate both of these, and I'm going to double click, and I'm going to replace the image in both of them with the regular one here. Okay, so this one's going to my opacity, and this one's going to my diffuse. Okay, so there's that. So I've already got my object selected, so instead of dragging this node, the other option I have, maybe it's not selected. Let me make sure it is. Okay, so it is selected. I'm going to assign material to selection. This is just an easier way to do that. And now when I zoom in and I re-render, So now it just kind of looks like I've got this blur around it, which is fine. I'm going to redo the alpha channel so I don't have that, but I merely just wanted to show that even on black or even on white, I'm not going to get something that's a very stark contrast to what our image is. So I'll go back to environment. If I change this to white, it's still going to look the same. It doesn't have like a black halo around it or a white halo or anything like that. So now I'm going to fix my alpha channel back here. So I had my alpha channel, I blurred it just so I could show why I was doing what I was doing. So I'm just going to drag this down into the trash can. I'll come back. All I have to do is select branch and simply do select, load selection, hit OK, select, save selection, hit OK, and now I'll have a new alpha channel there that has the crisp edge to it again. And I'm still going to use the one that has this background that I created, this blurred. It's not going to matter now because my anti-aliasing is not going to be so much noticeable. So I'm going to save this once again. Actually, I'm going to save it as a Photoshop file just to make sure I have everything there. And then I'll save the Targa file. I'll come back to max. This is automatically going to update, and now I don't have that blurry kind of edge happening there. And just to show you real quick one other thing. Whoops. I'm going to duplicate this other layer here. I'll call this red. Just to show you something that's has a lot more contrast to it. And we'll see if it shows up. And I'm just going to save it over the sun one that I have there so I don't have to redo all the stuff in the material editor, because I'll just undo what I had done there. Okay, so we can already see it has this red outline to it. Not so much seeing it here, which is a good thing. Let's see how it shows up on the black though. And watch, it won't show up, and then I'll just look like a fool. Nope, there we go. So we have this red outline that's happening in the anti-aliased area. So again, that's just one other reason that it's much better to just simply have the color that we have here around it, that it's bleeding into. So I'll save that again. And I'll render one more time. And that red goes away, which is good. And so now I can use this awesome looking super fancy branch. Just going to move the pivot point here. So let's say I was doing some sort of video game tree that you've probably seen them this way. I'm sure you've seen that in video games where once you get up close on something, it's just a bunch of planes. That's usually in older games, but this is the idea of how that's kind of done. See the little line we're getting here? That would be a bad thing to see. Especially if you're walking by it in a game, that would be distracting. Easy fix for that. You can just go to the image, double click, tell it don't tile. Because what it's doing is this very edge of this plane is tiling the image over again as if it was going to show it again. So if I render it again, that goes away. And oops. This would be a kind of a poor tree though, especially if you've seen my other tutorial that kind of shows this sort of stuff. But gives you an idea of what it would look like and how it could be used. So I hope you like this tutorial. If you do, please hit the like button. That helps me out. I like knowing that you guys enjoy the videos. If you have any requests, please leave them in a comment. I've been trying to get around to some of the requests that have been made. Please share the videos if you think there's somebody that you know that might need something like this. And keep watching, and please subscribe. Thanks for all the great feedback that I've been getting on the videos. I'm glad that you guys like them. Thanks a lot.